And just like that, baby, we are officially live on the official WydoePodcast. And if you notice, this is not just me anymore. We got two beautiful ladies here. Who do we have on the show today, ladies? Please introduce yourselves.
Thanks, Wyatt. Lia Prevolis, AVP of FIU Online and Digital Experiences.
Dr. Raquel Perez, the Director of Digital Experiences and Organizational Performance, and also a faculty member.
Wow. So shout out to FIU. They're in the building. Here to talk about esports. Okay, I'm a big video game guy. Okay, so can we just dive into it? What is esports and what's new about today's day?
So what is esports?
Right,
Well,
so broad.
I mean, competitive gaming, right? And how higher ed can really envelop that community of competitive gaming. So we've built a program around 3 pillars, which is competition, academics, and community.
Wow.
And being in the gaming fans or gamers in our own and very different ways.
Right.
We've really brought a lot of our strengths and our pulling a lot from the student body.
Right.
They're the drivers and the leaders of a lot of this, and we're ensuring that the institution is bringing good support in growing all these different areas and creating an academic pathway
Right.
in something that is of such interest to our student population.
Wow. And now esports haven't been around that long. I mean, I'm a fresh gamer, but I mean, what got you guys into this field?
Well, I think to say that it hasn't been around for a long time, yes, that's true. But I think we're in an interesting space where now markets are starting to take a look at it,
Right.
industries, higher education, right? But if we really take a look at the gaming community, that has been alive and well for a very long time,
That's right.
So it's a matter of the conversations that have to be had within that space in order to keep the integrity of those in the gaming community and its continue in how it evolves, right? So esports, honestly, is just another evolution
Correct.
of gaming and what that kind of looks like, right? So it's those pieces now of like, okay, it's here. I think it's now everybody's paying attention to it, but it's been living, for
Thriving.
a very long time. So it's us taking a look and understanding like, okay, how does this now live in a learning ecosystem that students are getting the beneficial skills, obviously, within that realm that are also marketable, that still connects them to the integrity of esports.
Correct.
But drawing a parallel from what you said, higher ed has existed for centuries. Esports not for centuries.
No.
So if we're looking at that kind of timeline, it's
Right.
in its infancy. And it in higher ed is even a shorter time
Right,
period.
right.
So there's a lot of benefits, challenges, opportunities, and being early, late, depending on who you talk to. We're either very early or very late in the game.
Correct.
And but having learned from a lot of great examples and tapping into a network, a local network and community throughout the way is how we've really been able to get the program off the ground.
Right. And now, are you having a problem with finding kids, students to jump in on this program? Because, I mean,
Not
I
at all.
doubt
We've been told we're going to have a wait list. We actually launched this fall.
wow.
We've sprinkled courses here and there just to kind of gauge interest. So I taught one this term, and it's really cool to bring in your modules. Like, the new Star Wars game has a whole set of accessibility options there. So bringing that into the classroom it's just a great place to be. And so officially launching in the fall is our first academic certificate program. And we are limiting it in terms of space and capacity as it's a boutique model. And we've been told we're going to have a wait list, so
Right.
we'll see.
And what about teachers? Are people
Great question.
jumping in to teach this?
Yes. So a lot of it is the avid gamers, and I think what we also have that's very unique within our space is we're actually going to have an arena,
Wow.
a spectator arena. It's in construction right now, so hopefully it's ready for that rollout in the fall, where our students will get to actually run tournaments, participate in tournaments, and people can then come into the arena
Right.
and have that whole viewership experience. So we're really excited about that component. But as far as faculty, there's a lot of people that are excited, but we're also in that space that we're looking very much so to the collaborative type of features, because the reality is to be good in esports, you don't need to have a PhD
Correct.
or a master's degree, right? So we're looking very much to kind of align ourselves with those individuals within the industry that are doing amazing things and bringing them into our courses so our students can learn from them
Right.
about in that real-time moment of esports.
And now, obviously, with the COVID pandemic, a lot of people were affected by this positively and negatively, depending on your business. Esports, a lot of people were at home playing more video games. Did that improve, help you guys, obviously, in this situation at all?
You know, our institution had we had the plan prior to COVID,
Right.
so we broke ground on the arena in 2018.
Wow.
Of course, there was acceleration that happened, right? There was a spike in gamers,
Right.
in users. With that, again, all the challenges that we've been very, very cautious and welcoming and dealing with up front. We get asked by parents, you know, should my student be studying this? Are there games in it? What about the stigma? And we're inoculating all of that up front.
Right.
We're having the conversation about all of that and how we're incorporating it into the curriculum and really teaching skills through esports. We're not teaching how to game, we're teaching through gaming.
Correct.
So using that mechanism, we're really gauging a lot of good interest from those.
And as a gamer, I mean, there's so many types of games: sport games, shooting games, RPG. Are you guys limited to what kind of games will be accepted there, or is it a full range?
Well, we're actually focused on letting that remain student-centered.
Wow.
So the games that the students want to play and focus on are the games that we are going to be focused on, and having those kind of elements. And again, it's one of the pieces of that community. We want to stay true to the gamer community and that experience, right? So whatever there, you know, if it's the new Overwatch, fine, we're in. Valorant, got it,
Yeah.
we're in. But if it shifts, you know, next cycle and next holiday season, then we're going to pivot along with the students. So it's always going to be gamer-led.
Wow. And now, do you guys play video games yourselves? Would you be a part of the program if you could be, if you weren't running it?
Oh, would we be if we weren't running it? Yeah, we play different games.
We do play different games. We do play different games.
I play a little Kirby, Mario Kart.
Let's go.
And,
I'm a console gamer, so I play PlayStation 5. I still play. I love action RPGs.
Wow.
So that's kind of the space that I like to be in. So
Yeah, but it's also like I like playing with my kids, and I like watching playing
Correct,
too,
correct.
which is part of the community. Is that you don't only have to be playing. There's a huge spectator part that is just as entertaining, just as, you know, involved, and that's also what we're building. A lot of students, they do game. The first competitive team that we officially supported is our Valorant team.
Yes.
And they were doing very well before the university officially supported. They're doing very well now. And
Right.
again, following the students there in where the following is the other piece in there is figuring out the coaching. It's very similar to, I draw the parallel to physical sports.
Right.
You need a coach for volleyball, you need a coach for soccer, you need a coach for every game that you're going to officially compete in.
That's right.
So keeping that in mind. Now, when we talk coaches too, my 15-year-old could be a coach, or you know, that even
Correct,
that
correct.
is a whole new outlook on who can coach these teams and what it takes to do that.
And now, what are you guys' opinions on the stigma of video games? Obviously, growing up with me, I
Sure.
attribute video games to how I learned how to drive well. A lot of things in life, but there was a bad stigma on don't be in the house playing video games, come outside. But nowadays, kids are learning so much. What do you think about the stigma of video games today?
So, and I'm gonna let Dr. Perez talk about what we developed. And our approach was, let's talk about it. There's no way we're gonna ignore it. People do talk about it, but let's figure out how it does live. So what we did was we have developed a micro credential on the whole athlete, on like kind of performance management, and Dr. Perez has developed modules that really speak to and dive into those areas.
Wow.
And I think it goes with anything, right? Anything that is, even if it's good for us, if we're doing too much of it, it's going to have a negative impact, right? So it's learning how we have these elements in our lives and balance them out. So our micro-credential is really focused on the physical aspect, the mental aspect, and the social well-being of an athlete, right?
Right.
An esports athlete, and how we kind of balance those different elements there for that individual. And so for that stigma, I do, obviously with the rise of technology, I think for each generation it looks a little bit different, right? But we're at a place that there's a lot of screen time.
Yeah.
But we're also learning with that is how do we balance out the screen time, and what's the cool things we could do with this screen time, and how they can promote that connection.
Correct.
A lot of times people think like, oh, well, with gaming, you're just isolated on a computer screen. We're seeing the opposite reverse, that people like meeting up, having those opportunities.
The community.
Yeah, and to kind of go do that community thing together and like, hey, let's all play here at the same time. So I think it's breaking down some of that, no, everybody's just isolated in a room, and understanding that, no, like this can be absolutely social and a very communicative type of experience.
And the other part of it is that it's an industry. So we are teaching these skills that now our students are going to have on their resume. They're going to have run a tournament, played in a tournament, coached in a tournament, done marketing for a tournament, had a podcast
That's right.
where you're casting,
Right.
for a tournament. So giving those skill sets also through that it's a new world, because there's jobs and internship experience and in a growing industry.
Right. And I want to ask Dr. Perez, as somebody with doctor in their title, how do we find you on a podcast talking about esports and video games?
The universe favored me. That's so my background is actually, my degree is actually in conflict analysis and resolution. I focus though a lot more on organizational conflicts and performance, and how do we, build a system, launch a system, watch a system. So when Lia brought me into the whole piece, my task is like, how do we build an
Right.
esports product, learning product that can live and thrive in this ecosystem. So I say that the universe smiled on me because I've always been a gamer. I've never stopped. It was one of those pieces that, to your point, where somebody's like, hey, I'm going to read this great book. I'm like, nah, I'm going to jump on this game.
Right.
Right?
Wow.
And so that moment, right, that's, how they say when opportunity meets luck, it's kind of like the preparation meets luck is opportunity. That's basically what it was. So keeping with my passion and never kind of settling it or pushing it to the side, I was like, you know what, it's going to live in my world, and this is how I continue to do so. Again, my family was probably like, oh, stop playing the video games.
Yeah,
do other
yeah,
things.
yeah.
And I'm like, no.
We've heard that.
Yes. But I think it's a great time to be alive, right? Like now the skills that a lot of gamers have, whether it's coaching for a team, helping create, manage a team through that process, the experience of esports, shoutcasting, all of those
Correct.
pieces are now needed skill sets within the industry. And not just within esports.
No.
We're seeing it, move into so many other spaces. So that's the universe smiled upon me, and here I am.
And I just want to say, on my show, I use my podcast, my platform, to be like a showcase, to not only show me, but ladies like you guys, different options for women out there. I want to ask, in your title and your roles of your jobs, can you describe a good day and a bad day?
Yes. A good day. It was actually this week. It was all of them, because it was commencement ceremonies.
Right.
And so seeing our students achieve that milestone, and then we were a part of that, and we make sure we have a staff of almost 200
Wow.
that work in our unit, and we make sure to bring those stories close to them, because while in their day-to-day they may be coding or designing, or to keep that overall objective, that compass, what we're working towards every day at the forefront, is really rewarding. And we have a great student community, a lot of minority students that we serve, first time in college, so seeing them walk across the stage is really rewarding. A hard day, I guess I would say challenging days, and we have had many of them. I mean, one of them was make esports happen.
Right.
And so spending a lot of time figuring out, and I always tell everyone I have 500 good ideas, only one is good.
That's right.
And just being okay with that, failing fast, adjusting, evolving. We've been very fortunate that the leadership in our institution fosters that and is like, yes, we get it. This is something that our student community needs and is asking for, so let's make it happen in the right way within our infrastructure.
Wow. What about you, Dr. Perez? A good day and a bad day?
A good day is solving a problem. Yeah. Solving a problem that has an impact, right? So kind of taking a look at the landscape, whether it's how do we launch esports, how do we help our students achieve this, how do we help our faculty, deal with this new ed tech technology, a variety of those different pieces. So that's a good day. I think a bad day actually probably falls a little bit more on myself. I would probably say, like the patience, right? Because you see all the potential.
Correct.
You see all the great things that we can evolve and grow in our community, and we're excited for it. And so I think it's like settling in with the patience of like, okay, We have to go process by process. So I think that my bad days are probably more based on how I'm framing and experiencing it than it actually being a horrible kind of, or challenging day.
And something I always like to ask, because I just feel like you can't connect the dots looking forward, they only connect looking back. So if you guys were to go back and tell yourselves 5 years ago where you're at and what you're doing now, would she have believed it?
No. It's interesting because a trajectory is one aspect, right? Like I knew that I was going to continue on I've been at FIU for 17 years.
Wow.
17 years ago, I didn't think I was going to be there 17 years. But what I feel like I've done that I know that I harness moving forward is taking advantage of every opportunity. So I was doing that 5 years ago, and it was a lot of unknown because we are almost in a kind of a startup branch of the institution.
Right.
And that unknown is kind of what kept me hungry and staying there for 17 years. It was always something new. It was online. It was figuring out the platform. It's esports, and now we have an arena.
Right.
What are all the events that the community can benefit from? Their spin in the academics. How does the competition? So particularly this, I say no. On this path of continuing to achieve and harness new opportunities, definitely the environment allows for that. Yeah.
I would probably say no too, and not. I know Lee and I have talked extensively about it. We're both like first gen in so many different places. We, as far as our education and our family and those migration patterns.
Right.
And the job I have now simply didn't exist.
Yeah.
Right. And I feel like my experiences, the things I've gone to, the things I've studied, the things I've learned, my failures, right, all gravitated me into a point of trusting my skill sets, trusting my own instincts and intuition, and knowing that there's something more, right? And when you live in a space and time where you can't get a degree yet in what you're doing is a great place to be, right? Because it's kind of, you're in a different, like, it's a level up that you can't
level up.
It's a level up that you're kind of like,
let's go, we're gaming.
Like you're trying to process. So to Lia's point, like, no, I wouldn't. And and I hit a lot of walls. Like, I'm sure we both hit a lot of walls, made a lot of mistakes.
My second career.
Yeah. But one thing that we're very big on is sharing those failures, sharing those mistakes, because if we hit those walls, somebody else doesn't have to.
Someone will.
So I think I wouldn't and I couldn't go back and change it because I wouldn't be here now if I did.
And now these beautiful ladies are representing FIU, but is that one of the early colleges, or a lot of colleges getting into this esports field?
In our region, yes, early. I think there's only maybe 2 other universities in our region. On the West Coast, they've been a little earlier on in the game. University of California, Irvine is one of the models that we've consulted with. Arizona University, but it is still new. It is still fairly new for higher ed. Even if you think about the NCAA and football, and then compare it to esports, an esports athlete can compete as a free agent and be on a school team, and there's no rules against that. That's a little different in the other sports. So even that in itself is unique and is hard to create any sort of standardized system, process. The games are all different.
Right.
They all have their own, and even in the industry, like Riot Games has their own championship. Now universities are trying to organize to have their champion. So even in that way, there's a lot of differences than existed in other types of competition that higher ed is used to. So it's being introduced. I think it's not as standard as other things that higher ed is used to, but there's definitely an awareness, an acceptance, an evolution, and I think it's an exciting time if you're a student and you're able to participate in kind of like what was a passion hobby in your coursework now.
Right. I want to ask you guys, do you think you'll see one day that we see, a Golden Panther esports team, just like a basketball team or a Florida Gator football? You'll see an esports team?
Yes, 100%. And to Lia's point, right, as far as like that evolution, esports clubs have existed, right?
Correct,
They're
yes.
Whether they name it or not, they've existed for a very long time. And then even into the formalization now of the academic space, we're seeing a lot more universities paying attention, like what does that look like academically? The next piece where we are definitely ahead is very few have that viewership arena
Right.
that we're about to have. That's a very big deal within that component. So yes, the plan would be to have, a full-fledged Florida International Esports, team.
Right. Jerseys come out there. Everybody's in the
jerseys
stands
already.
We
rapping.
have jerseys
We
already.
have jerseys.
You guys got jerseys.
Yes, we sure do. We might have brought you one, actually. We'll give you
I'll
one.
take it. I sold my PlayStation 4, but I'm back, baby. I'll get on Call of Duty real quick. Now, 2023, before I let you guys get out of here, besides the arena opening up, what do you guys got coming 2023? What can we look forward to?
We are, so in terms of the experience that we're fostering, the digital experience part of our role is finding those experiences that continue to make our institution a different experience from others, right? So distinguishing what does FIU bring to the student experience that other institutions don't. So continuing to build on that through today's student lens. And that's where esports is such a perfect fit. But evolving that, like right now it's esports that we're launching next year, but the year after that, we very well will be on to, what's the next thing that we need to integrate into the student experience. And now we have a space where we can use that immersive arena for fostering all of those different things and not forgetting that our students need to be building a skill set so that when they're done at our institution, they're using that for whatever that next milestone is.
And I want to ask, I'm not shy to say, I've played games and had a beautiful girl kick my ass in it. Do you guys have a lot of girls and guys mixed in this new field?
We do. We have full women's leagues as well as co-ed. So they're doing their thing.
Nice.
We're very proud of that.
Yep.
I
And
love
casters too.
Yeah.
We actually have an alumni who's a professional caster, and she's come back several times to talk to the students about what that feels and looks like for a female in that kind of role. Yeah.
And one of the last ones I want to ask to you guys, be honest here. Do you think esports is an actual sport? And are people that are in that field, are they real athletes?
Yes.
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 Yeah, the level of conditioning, and I'll share one of my major failures. After I finished my PhD, my first thing was I'm going to start gaming hard because now this chunk is out of my life. I started with Dark Souls 3.
Wow, hard game.
Yes, yeah. If the tutorial, I almost cried. I thought I could never do this again. So for somebody to say that it doesn't take some level of coordination, it doesn't take some level of skill set. Rocket League within itself is a challenging. So it's that discipline that you need in order to be competitive within that space. So yes, 100%, they're athletes.
I love it. Well, guys, I appreciate you joining the WydoePodcast. It's been awesome. Any last words before I let you guys get out of here?
Thank you for having us.
That's
This
it.
is
Thanks,
great.
Wyatt.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hey, if you didn't know, they're athletes. It's a real sport. Dark Souls 3, they're playing. Thank you guys so much.
Thank
Lia,
you.
Dr. Perez, it's been a great one.